Hello and welcome to the latest instalment of the Empire of the Cop podcast. And today we've got another special guest for you. We've got Foot Mercato's Anas Bakhkhar. And of course we've got the regular Peter Kenny-Jones. And I'll be your host, Farrell Keeling. Anas, thanks for joining us today. How are you doing?
You're welcome. I'm very fine, and you?
Yeah, no, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I'm very excited to discuss the player we've all come to talk about, which is, of course, Morocco star Sofyan Amrabat. I hope I've pronounced that right.
It's perfect. You should have the Moroccan nationality.
I'll take it. I'll take it. Anything over England these days. But yes, no. I mean, just to kick everything off, of course, because we I think many are familiar with Sofyan in terms of his performances at the World Cup. But I venture that not many Liverpool fans have seen him play at Fiorentina. Could you tell us just a bit about, in terms of Liverpool's interest, how long-standing has it been? Were we interested much before? And, how serious is that interest?
Yeah, we've talked about it in Foot Mercato. Like Liverpool coach Jurgen Klopp met the agents of Sofyan Amrabat. We can include his brother, Sofyan Amrabat, who's still working on his career for a long moment now. And they met the coach. It was a very good meeting. It was positive, and they will be meeting in a few days after the World Cup to see if the interest is the same for Jurgen Klopp. I think with this with his performances, it should not change, and there will be other meetings to know the demands of La Fiorentina, the demands also of his agents, to see if the transfer will go or not.
Yeah, I think we were just going to ask Anna. Obviously, you touched on it, and hello, I'm Pete, by the way. We were just going to say that how these talks went with Amrabat onto our show. You say they've gone positively. Then do you think there's good relations at the moment between the player and Liverpool?
Yeah, for the moment, I think that Sofyan Amrabat didn't meet Jurgen Klopp for the moment. It was also only his agent who decided to meet the Liverpool coach. But I think with the mentality of Sofyan Amrabat, who's a player who's very hardworking, and the demands also that will ask him Jurgen Klopp on the pitch to be also very to do the pressing all the time, to run a lot, to make efforts. I think it would be even a positive meeting between the two. So it can only match between them.
I think, it's fair to say that if Liverpool are interested in Sofyan Amrabat, it's possible that other clubs now, especially having seen him at the World Cup, will be keeping an eye on him, or will have been keeping an eye on for as long as Liverpool. Do you know if there's a lot of interest in Amrabat at the minute?
There was Tottenham last summer who tried to sign him for the club. I think they finally signed Yves Bissouma after him, but there was an agreement, I think, between Sofyan Amrabat and Tottenham. But I think there was some problems between the club, between the Spurs and La Fiorentina. That's why the transfer did not conclude. But they are coming back, I think, this winter. Sorry, they're coming back this winter. There's also an interest of Inter Milan, who's looking also for a number 6 to replace or to give to concur. I forgot the name. I forgot the name. To be the concurrent of Marcelo Brozovic. So for the moment, they're only Tottenham and Inter Milan, but we never know with the performance he can do against France. There can be other pretenders, so we never know. But for the moment, we talked about Liverpool, Tottenham, and Inter Milan.
Good. So we're certainly in the running. I think a lot of Liverpool fans have been watching Morocco, obviously not just because you're the underdogs. And I think pretty much everyone around the world wants you to win at the moment, but also to look out for Amrabat and how he's playing. Obviously, Morocco quite a defensive side. He's playing defensive midfield. He's winning the ball back and carrying it out in midfield. But it's going to be a different job if he comes to Liverpool, because obviously we're not as deep as the Morocco side are at the moment. So what other skills and assets does he have to his game, and do you reckon he can make the step up to come and play Champions League football, play for Liverpool?
I mean, he has a lot of impacts with or without the ball. He's also everywhere. He's everywhere on the pitch. Where he needs to be, he's there to compensate when his teammates go attack on the other half. So he's always at the best moment, at the best time to try and anticipate also the passes that to break lines. With his passes, I think he was 85% great passes in this World Cup. His masterclass against Spain showed that he can be also a very good passer in his own half. That doesn't have pressure when he has it. He just do the right things, the simple thing, but the right thing to try and help his teammates to go forward.
So obviously, with the position he'd be playing in, he'd be competing pretty much directly with Fabinho.
Yeah.
There is a 3-year age gap there, so you'd imagine sort of long term he could be a potential, absolute first starter for Liverpool. Just in terms of that particular competition, and looking at Fabinho not as he is now with his current poor form, but as Fabinho was at the best of his abilities. How would you compare Amrabat against Fabinho at his absolute best? Do you think there is a comparison to be made there? Or do you feel that if he came to Liverpool, he'd be acting as more of a backup option?
I think that even in Morocco, like it was in 2018 when he was in the World Cup, he was a backup of Mbak Boussoufa. But in the years after that, he realized that he can have more physical impact than Boussoufa. That's why he became the man in the midfield. I think that he can bring this more than Fabinho, like this physical impact in the duels, like in the ground or in the air. So that could be an advantage for him against Fabinho. I think Fabinho is better than Amrabat in the dribbling, like when he get the ball. Amrabat does not really take the risk to dribble his opponent or try to make the difference with the dribble, but only with the pass. And that's maybe what can advantage Fabinho from Amrabat. But the Amrabat type of play is really simple, but it's really efficient. Everything he does is for a reason, but he do it just well.
Nice. And obviously we're just looking as well, if we are to sign Amrabat, do you reckon it would be a January move, or would it be next summer? What do you reckon Fiorentina are more likely to do?
I think with Liverpool, like they have a heavy calendar coming with the Champions League, with the Premier League, with the cups. It would be important to them to have this signing this winter to improve their midfield directly, and to surf between commas on the dynamic of Sofyan Amrabat in this competition. I think maybe in 6 months he will not be as good as he is now. He will not be showing as much certitude as he's showing now. But maybe if they're doing this winter, it would be better for him to jump on this opportunity to show at the high level what he can do, and maybe in 6 months be even better than now. But it could be also a summer transfer. For the moment, everything is not concluded. Like I said before, the meetings will be coming in a few weeks between the agents and the club and the coach Jurgen Klopp. So it would depend also on these meetings to see if they're on the same wave or not.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned about the meetings just there with about being on the same wavelength. Obviously, Liverpool are going to be going for some pretty pricey targets. We know one absolute dead cert is going to be Jude Bellingham, and he's going to cost potentially upwards of £130 million. Enzo Fernandez, another high value target, has also been discussed, not as with a similar level of certainty, but as a possible additional target. So with that in mind, Liverpool are going to be looking in January for targets of more the 30, 40 million perhaps type. What can you tell us about the kind of price tag Liverpool can expect to have to fork out for Sofyan Amrabat, and if possible, the wages?
If we're talking about the wages, before this World Cup, Amrabat was evaluated at 10 million euros. I was looking here for euros, but it's going to be like £9 million if we do the conversion. And I think with his performances in the World Cup, La Fiorentina would ask a lot much. They were going to 30-40 million. I think they have 40 million. It's minimum to discuss with the player. But I think for this politic of taking like 40 million players, Amrabat would be the perfect fit for Liverpool. Yeah, we talks about Enzo Fernandez and Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham is linked to many other clubs like Manchester City. Enzo Fernandez is also linked with Barcelona. So I think that financially Liverpool would, maybe with Barcelona, but with Manchester City, financially, it would be difficult for them to compete. So Amrabat would be the perfect fit, the perfect match between a good price tag and good performances on the pitch.
Yeah, well, I think we'll definitely be watching out for them tomorrow. Obviously, it's a big game for you when Morocco take on France, and there'll be a lot of Liverpool fans watching for Amrabat. But maybe for us and maybe anyone else, even just in the Premier League watching across, is there any other players we should be looking out for, and anyone else within the squad at the moment that you know is linked with any other moves to the Premier League or even Liverpool?
For the moment, Amrabat is the only Moroccan player that's linked to a Premier League side or to Liverpool in particular. We also talked about Unai, who may be going to Barcelona because he is like, there's a good price tag on him. Is not that expensive, and we know that Barcelona has a lot of financial problems since a few months. We also talked about Buffal that may be quitting Angel. You know him because I know him a bit because he played for Southampton in a few seasons. I think he scored like the best goal of the 2018-2019 season with a beautiful solo. So for the moment, Amrabat is the only one, but I'm not doubting if any other Premier League sides are looking for players like Amala also, who can fit to the Premier League. Is now playing in Standard de Liège in the Belgian Premier Division. So he can be also a good signing, but I think that he's not shining as much as Amrabat in the midfield. That's why maybe the clubs are focusing on the born and raised in Netherlands. So for the moment, we also Anaïf Aguerd, who just came to West Ham, also who had an injury, I think, in the second game of preparation, and had like a few months of who couldn't play. He just came like a few weeks before the World Cup in the Europa League and the Premier League, to show that he still has the level he had in Rennes. But there could be other players. I can think of Bono, who can be like a top goalkeeper for some Premier League side. But I think that his price tag from Sevilla could be very high for in the moment. But there's also some interesting players to look for. So any Premier League fan or any Premier League club should watch this game between France and Morocco, because there can be a lot of surprises.
Well, no, absolutely. As Pete said, we'll be very, very keenly watching that game and wishing you the absolute best of luck. Anas, if you don't mind, we're going to put you on the spot here. Yes or no, do you reckon that Amrabat will be a Liverpool player once the January transfer window draws to a close?
Can I say I hope so? Yes, I just hope so. I can reckon yes, because like I said, very good positive meeting between the two parts. It can only be better if they're talking about sportive politic of Liverpool, who's not that bad. But I think it can be a really good fit for Amrabat, for Liverpool, because Amrabat could discover the high level that he could not discover in La Fiorentina, only in Serie A, but now he has the opportunity to play in I think the best league, the best in Europe, the Champions League. He can have the opportunity, even if he doesn't have the experience. Maybe Fabinho will have an advantage on him on this side, and will be in the 11 players in this competition. But we never know. Like we said, Amrabat a month ago, nobody did know him, and now every Premier League or Serie A or League One can try to sign him, because he can bring so much impact, so much effort, so much, even the mentality that was brought him with his older brother, Nordin, who was also an international for Morocco for a long time. So yes, I reckon Amrabat can be a Liverpool player, a very good Liverpool player.
No, it's interesting what you're saying, because on paper it has the makings of an ideal Liverpool transfer from the price to, I mean, Liverpool are known for going after players who are perhaps relatively unknown onto the international stage, and obviously the World Cup has completely changed that for Sofyan. So we'd be very interested to see how that would work, especially with the dynamic at Liverpool in terms of Fabinho and his form troubles. So yeah, one we'll be keeping a very, very close eye on. Anas, thank you very much for joining us again. For everyone watching, this is Anas Bakhkhar of Mercato, telling us all about Morocco star Sofyan Amrabat. And of course, we've had Peter Kenny-Jones, and I've been your host, Farrell Keeling. Thanks again, Anas.
You're welcome. Have a nice evening.
And likewise, and best of luck. Best of luck for the World Cup.
Morocco tomorrow.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. We absolutely will be. Thank you for joining us, and take care. Welcome back on the Empire of the Cop podcast. So you've just heard Anas Bakhkhar of Mercato talking about Fiorentina and Morocco star Sofyan Amrabat, who's been heavily linked to Liverpool Football Club of late, as the club continues to search for a midfielder to replenish the department ahead of the next start of the season. Obviously, we're not going to see him until midway through the start of the second half of the season, Pete. But I mean, from what we've heard, it sounds quite sort of a formidable player. Perhaps maybe, I don't know what your impression was in terms of technically, perhaps not as technically good as Fabinho, but in terms of the work rate and the efficiency, and certainly from what we've seen at international level, it seems to potentially be able to do a job for us.
Yeah, I think just from watching, obviously, I don't think I can say honestly that I was really watching out for Morocco at the start of the tournament, which I don't think anyone was. But as soon as you started hearing whispers that we might be interested, you looked out for him, and he reminded me maybe a little bit of Gini Wijnaldum, the way he can, just get his body in front of the ball, and he seems to just wriggle his way out. Like there's that famous one in there, but when we beat Barca, and Wijnaldum just seems to spin around 4 times and find his way out of trouble. He seems to be a bit like that when they really needed him to slow the game down for them and keep hold of the ball, not just be a headless chicken and boot it as long as he can. He seemed to be good at doing that. So, I think as much as he probably would be someone who would compete with Fabinho, I don't think it'd be impossible to see them playing alongside each other either. And an extra body might be something that we need. And yeah, just from the conversation we had, then he does sound like he could be good enough from me watching him in the World Cup. I'd certainly be excited. I don't know how much you've seen of him and if you think the same. Or
I mean, being completely honest, I haven't seen much of him. I mean, what everything I've heard has all been fantastic. But I think there's always a sense of wariness over sort of World Cup stars. We've had this with El Hadji Diouf,
don't say his name,
potentially being the most famous example. Plenty of others too. Obviously, I don't want to compare Amrabat to Diouf, but you could equally get the other situation. You get him, and he's every bit as brilliant as everyone saw on the international stage. To be putting in world class performances, as Anas rightly pointed out, against the likes of Spain, Belgium. It's no easy task, especially not against that Spain midfield. So I'd be very curious to see whether how adaptable he would be to the English top flight. Obviously, with our hit rate, you kind of have to think, we're above the 90% mark, aren't we, in terms of successful Liverpool transfers? If our recruitment team has been eyeing him up for quite a while now, you'd have to probably argue that he's more than decent enough for the task. The question would be, for me, the main one for me is, to what extent? Because we know Fabinho's form has been poor, but we know it's likely to, he's not going to stay rubbish, is he? He's likely to rediscover his best. If not, at the start of the second half of this season, then definitely by the next one.
Yeah, well, I don't think many will have given up on Fabinho, and I certainly haven't. I think, although what you said, I think some people have been a bit harsh on him for this performance level and what it has been. But the issue is with the number 6 role, it is quite important, and we've found ourselves having to pretty much give Fabinho every second available because we haven't been able to put someone else in there. although Henderson can play there as well, because we have had a couple of injury problems as well, then we haven't been able to really rest Henderson either. And it has looked like both Fabinho and Henderson have been playing through something a bit this season already. So obviously we know they've both been at the World Cup, but both haven't been fully involved. Henderson more than Fabinho, but hopefully that little rest will they'll come back sharp, having played football, but also not playing 90 minutes twice a week will hopefully help Fabinho come back in. And we don't know. Obviously, we've heard with Arthur Melo as well, haven't we, that he could be ahead of schedule and he could come back in. He might be the midfielder we need, and we might not have known at the start of the World Cup how quick he was going to come back. So maybe that's why we were or are looking at Amrabat. But it'd be interesting. I think we could definitely use a body in there if Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain just come back as well. But I think now pretty much we've got a fully fit midfield, and if Arthur Melo's close to coming back, then we might not need him at all. But I think just from watching him, if you take it on face value, is this player good enough? And you've seen that it looks like we spoke to him definitely from the conversation we just had with Anas, and I know Santiago Una as well was how we got in touch with it from saying that there has been conversations with Klopp. So I think we must be looking at him. He'd be an exciting player to come in, but whether we fully need him if everyone's back fit, it will remain to be seen, Mona.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Liverpool are in a sort of very difficult situation now where we know potentially as many as 3 midfielders will be leaving in the summer window. I think it's fair to say we know at least 2 will be. I think, I'm not too sure what's going on with Keita at the moment, but I think the contract talks don't seem to really be getting anywhere. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain will rightly be looking for more minutes elsewhere. Milner is I mean, we discussed this in our last one, didn't we? We said Milner, oddly, of the 3, looks the most likely to stay on for at least another year before maybe making a move into coaching or enjoying a sort of farewell tour at one of his old clubs. So we know we need at least 2 midfielders, and we know we can't leave it all to be done in the summer window, partly because it's too much work and partly because Liverpool need an injection of quality and need fresh legs in that midfield to get us through the rest of the season, the demands of the season, especially when we're looking, to fight our way back into the top 4 and face Real Madrid in the next stage of the Champions League. But that's another story entirely. But when we're considering, of course, the money that we're going to be looking to spend on Jude Bellingham, potentially Enzo Fernandez will say that very, very likely, because we don't, it's far, far from being as certain as Jude Bellingham as things stand. We know Liverpool are interested, but interest and a bid, there's a huge gap between the two. So in terms of the mark, that we're looking to potentially sign him for, I think, roughly the 30, 40 million, I think that would be, it's more than ideal, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I think we've always said with Klopp, he's got that one target he wants to go for and he goes and gets him. But I think with what he said right before the end of the last window, saying, I was right, you were wrong, we need to get a midfielder, which I disagreed with. But I think for him to say that, it shows that they did have to a little bit of a late scrap and had to go and find not the perfect midfielder, a midfielder, which is what Arthur Melo obviously wasn't. We might still find out he is the perfect midfielder. He hasn't literally had the kick of the ball for us yet, other than coming on as a sub against Napoli and playing with the reserve. So he could still be the one, but maybe this is showing that, not saying that, we're not just putting all our eggs basically in the Bellingham basket. We're having a look, saying, what, if he doesn't work, Enzo Fernandez could be another option that we'd spend a lot of money on. If that doesn't work, we don't have to go and spend 100 million on your third option. Sofyan Amrabat could be someone you get for 40 million, which is obviously a lot more affordable, and he could come in and play there while, if we do lose out on Bellingham and Fernandez, because you can't start a whole scouting system with days left of a transfer window, can you? So maybe this is where we are with these other 2 players. But I think the sources that have come out, it shows that we probably are interested, but you never really know, do you, until you see the official, when they're doing the old Melwood lean or whatever you call it now. And we'll see what happens. But I think everyone's got to hope we sign Bellingham, and if we don't get the other 2, there won't be any issues. But it looks like we're lining up a couple of options just in case it all doesn't go to plan.
No, maybe it'll become the Axel lean, although I'm not so sure it has exactly the same ring to it. I mean, you made an interesting point in terms of the last minute sort of scramble. We saw this with Lima, didn't we? The Liverpool were reportedly, according to the sources right in the Bundesliga, were making that sort of late ploy to kind of sign him. Obviously, Leipzig kind of said, well, no, because then who are we going to fill that spot with? Now he's reportedly agreed to move to Bayern Munich. So it's good for Liverpool to have multiple options on the go here. We know Fernandez and Bellingham aren't going to be possible. I think Fabrizio Romano reported this afternoon that the only way Fernandes would change clubs as early as January is if something crazy happened. I don't think Liverpool would splash that much cash this early in the window, though I'm sure many a Liverpool fan would love to see them do it. So we can safely say a player of a Sofyan Amrabat will be probably the most likely signing that Liverpool will make. The Wijnaldum comparison is an interesting one, I do think, because we definitely... I'm not too sure on his durability. I'm not, if you're familiar at all with his general appearances, but obviously, ideally, we need someone who can, as we've seen with the current midfield, who has legs that can last a full season, last the demands of our season, because we know Liverpool are going to be involved in all cup competitions. We certainly learned that from the last season. And not that I'm saying that we'll be launching a quadruple every single season from here on out, but I think you never know. I think you'd like to think that it's capable of withstanding it if we do it again, or challenge for it again. We'll be keeping you updated on all that comes out regarding Morocco's Sofyan Amrabat. You've just seen, we of course talked to Anas Bakhkhar of Foot Mercato and all the latest around Sofyan Amrabat. I've been Farrell Keeling, your host, and as ever we've had the lovely Peter Kenny Jones. We hope you enjoyed this. Be sure to hit the like, hit the notifications bell, and subscribe to us if you're watching this on our YouTube channel. This will also be going out on our Substack, so feel free to give us a subscribe, because we do get a few exclusives and other transfer bits out on there, and some commentary. I believe there's a lovely midfielder piece that attracted some controversy earlier in the year, but I think personally I'm quite a fan of it. But yes, be sure to join in the fun and take care.